Hey there again. This is Don the Idea Guy, and welcome to Running Through My Mind. This is episode 3. But wait a minute, you say. I've been listening to it on the playlist, and I just listened to episode 4. How could this be episode 3? Well, that's why I'm back on for another episode on the exact same day. You see, I have been participating in something called hashtag 22kill, which is a campaign to raise awareness for the rate of veteran suicides. That is actually an average of 22 a day. And what they're doing is they're trying to raise awareness by raising 22 million push-ups. And the way they're getting to that number is to tag people in social media to commit to doing 22 push-ups a day for 22 days. Well, I'm on day 4 of that, but I also just launched this podcast a few days back, 3 days, as a matter of fact, and I confused the two numbers. I was actually on my 4th day of 22 push-ups, but I was on my 3rd day of running through my mind. So, now, if you look in the podcast playlist, it goes episode 1, episode 2, episode 4. And the cool thing about it is I just launched this podcast, and I had a couple of people call me out on, hey, I think it's broken. I see podcast episode 4, but I don't see 3, which is great. That means there are at least 2 people listening to the podcast. On the flip side, it kind of brings up a good point. If I was waiting to be perfect and I recorded the original episode in a studio someplace and I listened to it closely before posting and I edited out every and stumble over a word and maybe incorrect podcast episode number, it might have been another week before I posted. So you end up with maybe a weekly podcast, and things come up, so it might end up being a podcast every 2 weeks. And then, maybe it'll be once a month, and then it doesn't happen at all. But with this, I'm pulling into the parking lot, I'm hitting record, I'm hitting stop, and I'm hitting publish. That's it. There's no prettifying anything I said. I'm not going to go back and correct anything. I'm not even going to stop what I'm saying if I totally screw up and re-record the episode. I'm just going to keep pushing on through. And then I'm going to post it. And if you're going to find words in there that don't make sense, or incorrect use of grammar, or maybe I repeated myself a couple of times in an episode or two, well, you've got a little fast forward button or a stop button, or hey, if you really hate it, there's an unsubscribe button. This is just to prove that you can do something immediately, post it out there, get it into reality, bring your ideas into reality, actually get people to listen, because that's what happened. I'm not sure. I think maybe I did spot the fact that the podcast number was wrong once it went live, but I had at least 2 people point out that fact to me, which, it'll give me a total number of plays. I'm not watching the pot boil on this, so hopefully more plays will happen, but certainly 2 people listened closely enough or paid enough attention to spot the fact that there was an incorrect number. So I appreciated that. I didn't take it personally. That's going to happen. That's whenever I published my ebooks, I guarantee you there's plenty of typos in there for people to find. And you know who find the most typos in my books? People who haven't written a book. So spend less time critiquing other people's work and more time working on your own. Now, again, that's no slight to the couple of people who asked me about the missing episode. That's a mental position that you might want to consider when people criticize you. They're criticizing something you did because they didn't do it. And that's a better way to look at it. If you're building the most beautiful boat, and let's say you're building it in your backyard or your garage, and you're building this thing by hand, and it's gorgeous. It's all hand done wood. It's a wooden boat that you're going to build, and you're going to take it out. It can look gorgeous, but you're not going to find out if it has any leaks until you actually put it in the water. So if you're building that ship, you got to get it out on the water, because you can spend all the time building the boat that you want. Unless you get it out on the water, you're never going to sail away. So that is my makeup episode. So I can actually title this one episode 3. hopefully it took away a little bit. I was actually planning to talk about, launch before it's perfect kind of a thing later on, but this gave me a perfect opportunity, and it's in context to address it right now. So don't worry about being perfect. It's never going to be perfect. It doesn't matter how many editors you have go over a book, there's going to be a typo. It doesn't matter how much time you put into editing the audio or editing the video of what you're working on. There's going to be a clip that just doesn't make sense, or there's going to be somebody stutters over a word or says an or an It's just not perfect. Think about the millions of dollars that Hollywood puts into films, and a ton of money, teams of people dedicated to editing the movie. You actually have somebody that's in the credits called a continuity director. And there are other websites devoted to finding weird things in movies that don't fit. I remember one is somebody in an old Western is wearing a modern wristwatch. That's just one thing. If you go online and search for movie flubs, actually go to IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, imdb.com, or the app, and go to your favorite movie and scroll down past the cast and the trivia, and usually you'll find a spot that says mistakes or flubs or incontinuity, and you'll find lists of things that people screwed up in movies. And it's just kind of fun to look at your most perfect movie, something you never saw, and now the next time you watch the movie, it's going to jump out at you as a glaring error. Don't worry about it. Keep on keeping on. You know what? You're not going to find the leaks in the boat till it gets on water. Get your boat on the water. That's it for today. I hope you have a great and productive weekend. I haven't decided if I'm going to do shows on the weekend or not. This was intended to be a podcast that took place in real time as I ended my daily commute in the parking lot at the office, something to record before I went in. I'm not working on the weekend. I'm going to be home working on my own stuff. So I'm not sure if I'm going to end up doing a podcast or not. If you're listening and you're enjoying it and you'd like to have a weekend podcast, there'll certainly be other things running through my mind on the weekends than run through my mind during the week. I'd be interested in hearing your feedback. You can shoot me a tweet or leave a comment in the show or post it on the Facebook page. I'd love to hear from you. And if you're enjoying it, let me know that too. And if you're not enjoying it and you're finding lots of mistakes, just keep it to yourself. I'm not going to change what I'm doing anyway. Have a great weekend, and thanks for listening to Running Through My Mind. If you want to get more information on me or anything I'm working on, you can always visit dontheideaguy.com.